Hi, thanks everyone for attending and joining us on this session. I'm Councillor Angeliki Stogia, Executive Member for Environment Planning and Transport at Manchester City Council. And it's a typical Manchester Mancunian day today, and I'm at the Town Hall. I'm delighted to be talking to you about the Unlocking Clean Energy in Green Manchester project. I'll be taking you through what the project is, who is involved in it, what is it trying to do, and obviously what we are trying to achieve through this project. I will also be talking to you about the Greater Manchester's ambitions with regards to becoming a zero carbon conurbation, and also what are the challenges that we currently are meeting on the way. So if you could please skip to slide 2. Thank you. So Unlocking Clean Energy in Manchester brings together 5 local authorities that have declared a climate emergency. These local authorities are Manchester, Salford, Rochdale, Stockport and Wigan. The Unlocking Clean Energy in Greater Manchester project is an example of how Greater Manchester districts are collaborating in order to deliver the region's aspiration of 2038 carbon neutrality. So, what is the aspiration and the targets? All of the Greater Manchester's local authorities are going to be taking action to put Greater Manchester on the path to deliver zero carbon, initiating a program of mitigation that deliver an annual average of 15% of cuts in our emissions. So through this action, we have committed to holding cumulative carbon dioxide emissions under 71 million tons up to 2,100. And in order to get all of these figures and get our carbon budget, we have been working together with the Tyndall Centre for Climate Change further down the road at the University of Manchester. So this means that we will be needing to reduce our current annual emissions by more than 2/3 in order to meet the recommended budget. So some very, very significant challenges over there, and obviously we need to take urgent action in order to achieve that. So the outputs that this project will deliver will account for 22% of Greater Manchester's 5-year environment plan energy generation targets. And the project will aim to develop a number of renewable schemes, which will be also creating a replicable blueprint for UK regions aiming for net zero carbon emissions, helping to scale up local and national clean energy systems. There's 3 equally important parts to this innovation project, and these are the key areas that this project covers. Firstly, we're going to be building renewable energy generation on underutilized council land in order to reduce energy costs and carbon emissions for the local authorities. In Manchester City Council, around about 75% of our direct carbon emissions are generated by our buildings and our estates. So it is a very, very important area where we need to cut emissions. Secondly, incorporating storage and electric vehicle charging by using smart digital systems to make weather-dependent renewable generation more flexible in order to meet local energy demands. And then thirdly, we're looking to develop a range of innovative business models that not only reduce energy costs, but which also may attract private sector investment and also grow local businesses. We're less than a year into this project, and we started the project in late 2020, and the project is for 3 years. It will run until May 2023. The total project investment is 17.2 million, and it is partly funded with 8.6 million from the European Regional Development Fund as part of the European Structural Funds Programme 2014 to 2020, and the rest of the funding is coming from the local authorities. So how will this resource be used? It will fund the construction of 10 megawatts of local renewable energy generation. Like I said, building capacity for 22% of the 2024 target for Greater Manchester through the use of solar PV and hydroelectric generation, through also battery storage, electric vehicle charging, and smart energy management systems. And more importantly, this project will also focus on these innovative new business models to maximize the value from the electricity that has been generated, for example, by taking advantage of regulatory changes or utilizing flexibility between clean energy assets that are distributed across the city and as part of the Greater Manchester's emerging local energy market. So if we move to slide 3, which I think that we are currently on, in terms of Greater Manchester, setting the context in terms of energy usage and renewable energy targets, currently the total energy which is used within Greater Manchester, only 2.5% comes from renewable sources that are located within the city region's boundary. So when we translate that to a per household measure, this equates to nearly half of the national average. So we need to make strides in this area. Uptake rates remain low, and the current generation is only around a quarter of the estimated technical potential of the city region, to which solar PV in particular, has the greatest potential to contribute. So over the next 5 years, we have a lot of work to do, and the 5-year Greater Manchester Environment Plan calls for an extra 45 megawatts of solar PV alone across the city region over the next 5 years. So we need a significant increase in the proportion of electricity that we use and we generate to come from renewable sources. So the reduction in CO2 emissions in the modelling to become zero carbon by 2038 are based on a reduction of between 58 to 76% of emissions from generated grid electricity by 2025. That increases then to 80% by 2030 and to over 95% by 2035. And this project is very important in guiding and leading the way of how we can achieve that. And as we know, of course, this cannot come, all of this energy, from decarbonizing clean energy by decarbonizing the national grid. We need also to increase energy security and protect against the uncertainty and energy prices, but also we want to maximize economic opportunities, increasing the rate of emission reductions. And our ambition is also to maximize the contribution from local renewable energy generation within the city region. And this needs to be done alongside accelerated decarbonisation of the grid. And of course, there are risks there to meeting our aim to become zero carbon by 2038 if the national grid does not decarbonise quickly enough. So in terms of getting to the challenges of delivering decarbonisation, we all know that the energy system needs to change. We need less reliance on fossil fuels. We need less centralized and inflexible infrastructure. And we need to power ahead with more renewable generation and often smaller and local scale. We also need more flexibility and a more dynamic and responsive energy system, as well as a greener one. The regional targets that are identified in the Greater Manchester's 5-year environment plan recognise the importance of the role that all of the local authorities can play. And we also have specific targets for energy generation. And we also recognise, or the Greater Manchester plan also recognises, the need for diverse generation and storage in order to manage peaks. And of course, as you will have already potentially seen while you're doing your work, we've got recognized barriers to roll out energy systems in the local authorities, developing and challenging it is challenging to develop business cases on some schemes, especially following the removal of subsidies like the feed-in tariff or the renewable obligation certificates. And there's also a lack of maturity in commercial models in order to maximize deployment. And then we also have got varying skills and various experience between the local authorities. So this project has been specifically developed to address these problems by using ERDF funding, and it will build capacity and experience in the partner organizations. And in parallel, the Energy Systems Catapult, who was the original applicant for the scheme, it will explore future business models which should improve the business case for future schemes. And it is hoped that the combination of capacity building and improved commercial models will lead to deployment of further and subsidy-free projects in the future. So what we've got ahead of us is a slide that is looking at this project, which is divided into two work streams. If you skip back, sorry. If you go back to the previous, great. So we've got in the work stream one, we've got, there you go, you're in the right slide. We've got 9 renewable schemes, which will be delivered by the 5 local authority partners. There is a range of technologies and applications: ground mount solar, roof mount solar, solar carports, batteries. So let me go through these 9 schemes very briefly. In Oldham, the Oldham's project is going to be a solar farm at Wrigley Head, which would give Oldham its first 1 megawatt of ground-mounted solar PV. In Rochdale, the funding will support the development of a 27-acre solar farm at the Chamber House Farm between Rochdale and Haywood. This scheme, which was granted planning permission in August, will generate 4,500 megawatt hours of electricity per year, which is enough energy to power 1,250 homes, or 1.4% of the borough's homes annually over the next 30 years. In Salford, the council has planning permission to install solar PVs at its site in Kenyon Way in Little Holton, and will also be looking to set up a hydro scheme in order to increase local renewable energy generation and increase the flexibility of organ energy supply. In Stockport, Stockport is concentrating on developing an innovative roof-top solar PV schemes on the key priorities in Merseywear and Stockport Exchange and their depot. And in Wigan, the project will make the Makerfield depot greener and more sustainable by installing solar panels to the roof to the roof of this site of the depot. So these sites have been identified through GM Go Green Neutral program, which looks at potential energy generation across the local authority sites. If we move on to the next slide, you are going to see that under workstream, Manchester City Council has got 2 projects, one at the Velodrome and one at Hammerston Road Depot. The Velodrome will see a major refurbishment in the programme designed to future-proof Manchester's Velodrome, part of the National Cycling Centre and home to British cycling. And then 1 megawatts of solar capacity supplying renewable energy to this key piece of national sports infrastructure. And then we're going to be also doing work in our Hammerston Road depot. If you go on to work stream 2, which is on slide 6, this is much smaller in value. The intention is to develop here new business models that support the investment in renewable energy by obtaining the greater value for the electricity that they generate. And if successful, this will mean that a wider range of sites can be developed without the need for subsidy, which will increase the potential for renewable capacity growth in Greater Manchester and potentially beyond that. So by the end of the project, we will have identified the options, we will have assessed which one or which ones have the greatest potential in terms of moving forward and developed plans for the partners to put them in place. And findings will be shared as part of this project so that others can benefit, not just local authorities, but anyone that has got assets that could be developed for renewable energy. So in terms of the options, there are options in the development of peer-to-peer trading arrangements through local energy market mechanisms. There's a peer-to-peer trading mechanism that will mean that generators and consumers can trade electricity without an intermediary at an agreed price, which could benefit both parties. So there's a lot that we're hoping to learn from this project, but also a lot that we are hoping to reduce in terms of emissions by this project. And it's a project that we hope is going to be the blueprint for other authorities, local authorities, but also partners from across the different sectors to move forward with generating energy. Okay, I think I am done in terms of the presentation. And I've got a couple of minutes left, I think.